6-week to elite program. And we've got some wonderful presenters that I mentioned earlier. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to the wonderful, before we do that, let me just give you one piece of advice. Pull out your study manual. You're going to need it this evening. Pull out your business building guide. We're going to go through a handful of pages. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Laura Jacobs to walk us through the pages that relate to the 6 weeks to elite from the business building guide. So Laura, go for it.
Well, thank you, Mr. Larson. Appreciate the opportunity to hang with you and all these amazing ladies tonight. We're going to have so much fun. You know, we always have pre-calls before we get together. We don't just wing it. And I've just loved the experience of being in the midst of such fantastic doTERRA leaders and builders. And I'm super excited for the opportunity tonight. I'm going to set the stage for our conversation and take us into the guide, because truly we can't show the way unless we know the way. And it was so fun to see so many of you commenting on how many of you have finished the course. Congratulations. So I know a good portion of our audience knows about what I'm talking about when it comes to the BBG, as we like to call it, and the BBC, the BBG being the Business Building Guide and the BBC being the Business Building Certification. So let's jump in. And as we do each month, we ground ourselves with where does our conversation fit in with pipes? And so on pages 5 and 6 of your guide, so if you're following Eric's instructions, and, you know, I love working with my frontline when we get together and we do things. They've always all got their guides right there and they're flipping open their pages so you can turn here and have that in front of you. And our conversation tonight will fall under the support section where, you know, we're targeting 2 communities. We have a customer community that we care for in one way, and then we have a builder community that we care for in another. So we're going to speak to that this evening. Now, one of the most important parts of this entire guide are pages 7 and 8. And, you know, the first time you run through a build with your business to hit a rank like elite, you're doing it to do it. And then you're coming back through other times to do it, to teach it, to do it with someone else. And so this particular set of pages is that roadmap of like, what are we doing? You know, Justin's been teaching us since the beginning of doTERRA time that we do lather, rinse, repeat. And this is that recipe, you know, for shampooing our hair and getting it all done up nice. So again, as we look to our topic tonight, we're on step 5, which if you look at the fine print here, this is a pathway that can happen parallel depending on how our person starts. Some people start as a customer and they grow into maybe a share to a builder, to a leader. Others jump right in. They're like, I want to get going as a builder right away. So this can be positioned in a timeline based on that person's, you know, process of unfolding to a commitment to build. So we have a particular section here targeting launching builders, which of course is our topic for tonight. So I've blown that up for you here on page 8. Again, I'm under step 5 under the subtitle of launch builders. And you can see right here that the instruction is to turn to pages 91 and 92 and to conduct an intro to launch using the checklist that's here on page 7. So if we just go a little bit backwards, right here on the 4th box under step 1 is the entire recipe for an actual intro to launch strategy session. So you would have already been through that yourself for the first time with your own upline mentor. This is what you'll take your builders through. So that's what's referring to, along with pages 91 and 92, which we're going to get to here in a minute. But in the middle of it, the concept is to introduce to your new builder the opportunity for them to achieve something as quickly as what we like to call 6 weeks to elite, which is the other part of our conversation tonight. So I'm going to breathe some life into the pairings here that we're mentioning and show you where in your guide, outside of pages 7 and 8, as we've just mentioned, which is the really detailed roadmap, and just tie some things in together. So first of all, I'm going to hop into the prepare section. There's some really important pieces that help set up that new builder. Pages 13 and 14 are one of my favorite conversations. And when I turn to page 13 with a new builder that I'm launching, one of my favorite things to ask them is, how much would you like to make with doTERRA? We got you dreaming in our intro to build conversation. You were in the build guide. You saw the cute couple in the boat. There were some ideas of like, if you had more, what would you do with it in your life? So just helping people to quantify for themselves what is it they want to earn with doTERRA, and showing them the path of progression from rank to rank is how we lead to different levels of income. And in the middle of this page, we've also tied different levels of play. Do I want to pay for my product? Do I want to supplement my income? Do I want to actually replace or multiply my income? And then what would that look like by way of time commitments? What does that look like by way of rank pathways? And just introducing some concepts to that new builder so they start to process how different things come together. And so again, this page was, how much do you want to make? The subsequent page is, how fast do you want to get there? And this is really important for where we're going next, because the pace really helps us decide if we're working with someone who wants to do elite in 6 weeks. And it really is the ideal pace. It's very feasible. It's very doable. And I would just like to put it out there. I know Molly Dayton would have my back on this, and she'll probably comment on it. She and I have both been around for a longer period of time. I think she called us ancient a little while ago. And, back in the day, this was our expectation, that launching to elite within a calendar month with some prep weeks was pretty standard. And so I think both of us would like to invite, let's bring that back. Let's not wane or wax cold on a concept that actually is still totally feasible. And we'll get more into what that looks like. So again, you're asking on page 13, how much do you want to make? How fast do you want to get there on page 14? And then there's 3 paces that are laid out for them, showing them elite in 30 days, elite in 60 days, elite in 90 days, and helping them see the money and the math, or how that PV adds up. Now, again, this is a little bit of a detailed conversation. Some people will have more comprehension for this than others. And you can decide how much you go into the details of that, depending on the person in front of you. Some people are like really execution oriented or very strategic oriented, and they're going to want to see the numbers. They're going to wrap their head around that. That was me. Like, I wrapped my head around numbers. I knew how much PV I had to do. I knew how fast I wanted to get done. And I've helped a lot of people do that same thing. Other people are going to want to think, how many people do I need to get in front of? I'm a relationships person. How many people do I need to invite over? So whatever the case is, it's helping people set a pace. And the reason why that's so important is we get into our timeline conversation here in just a second. How will you know how to match them? And Molly Dayton's going to talk to us about this pace matching. This is really one of her signature aspects to herself as a leader. So I wanted to set you up for success in listening to Molly, so you know where in your BBG, your business building guide, you are set for successful conversation to broach these ever so important topics. And you can listen with that extra air as Molly goes through that with us. The third conversation on these 2 pages is, and why do you want to get there? How much do you want to make? How fast do you want to get there? And why do you want to get there? And helping people capture that why. Because when we set goals, when we can connect them to emotion and tie them not just into our head, but into our heart, and share them with other people, actually speak them out, which this page invites. It's a very, very powerful way to set our intentions, and a very healthy way, and yet not in an overly complicated way. And just getting people to look at the few things that matter most at this stage. Now, this is just a blow up of that final section, helping you see or remind you, for those of you who've been through the program, the simple questions that are there, but help people get focused on those goals. Because again, we can't launch builders. We can't put them through a program like 6 Weeks to Elite if nobody knows where we're going, right? We're not going to go on vacation without a destination, without a map. So setting the pace is so important for both of you, because then you're going to know how to dedicate your time. So speaking of time, I'm showing page 13 again. We've already been there, circling that on page 13, there is some focus on hours. How many hours in a week would one be dedicating to their business if they wanted to get to a certain rank level? So the guide actually invites the new builder on page 20 at the top, when we're speaking about the weekly schedule, to go back and reflect on their choices on page 13 when they set their goals, and to indicate to themselves, okay, I chose supplement my income. I chose a middle pace. So it says here, I need to plan on approximately 10 to 20 hours in order to do this in a week's time. And what I did is I took that box out off of page 13, that ideal pace, and I'm just showing the arrow going through it, to just indicate that this is where we're transitioning from a concept into reality. And again, I think this is something that I really want to invite you to pay attention to, listening to Molly speak to this in particular, because the number of hours a person is willing to work is significant. Because what if they say to you, and we've got this in the intro to build script in case you need to broach this kind of topic, but what if they're saying to you, oh yeah, I want to make 10 grand a month and I've got 5 hours a week. Well, we might need to have, either one, do you have like a really, really big audience and a lot of people you can put in line to help you sign up a bunch of people? Like, do you have a whole army ready to go and you're just directing from the top? Or, how involved will you need to be? Because if you're going to be more involved, we probably need more than 5 hours a week. Or how fast would you like to get to 10K a month? What does that look like for you? So just helping them qualify their goals and their pace and making sure they're a match. So again, on the top of page 20, this is scheduling getting there. So again, how much do you want to make? How fast do you want to get there? Why do you want to get there? Let's now schedule getting there. And let's start to look at the hours that you have on the days of the week. So you can start, if you're saying you have 10 to 20 hours, great. Let's find those 10 to 20 hours. So as we start working together, we'll know what we have to work with. Okay. So that being said, now as the guide indicated, back when we were under our page 8 and it was coaching us, it says we're going to go to our Find Builders section, and we're going to get into now the specifics of how the entire 6 weeks to Elite program is being shared. And this is one of my favorite sections of the guide. I just love, maybe I'm like a big picture girl. I love seeing it all laid out. And I just want to add my witness that for all of us from Empowered Success who've authored all of this great content, which is a conglomeration of experience for 13 years of doTERRA building. And it's come from the best of the best and a very realistic offering here, that I've lived this. I've lived this schedule. I think I have launched no less than 24 people in partnering with them who set the pace and put the hours in. And we were able to, with some lead time, just like it teaches on page 14, it says you're going to need 1 to 4 weeks of prep time, depending on, when you're scheduling your first classes. And I work that way with all of my builders. But I don't think it's less than 24 that I helped launch to Elite in a weekend, because we just stacked it, right? We just stacked all those classes that could have been spread out in a month or spread out over a week and a weekend because they lived far away from me and I needed to fly there, and we just got it done. But our prep was really, really significant so that we could have the success that we desired. So I really want to invite you to take a close look at what's here. We are minimalists with our words in the guide. We try to get as much information across to you in as small words as possible without mincing meaning. And so I just love what's being taught here. I highlighted for you a couple things that are some of my favorites on this page. And it says, think of the busiest mom you know who wants to create a doTERRA income. What does she need to succeed? She needs a proven way, telling her where to start, what's expected, and how to do what needs to happen. This guide provides just that, a systematic approach to successful habits and skills in a step-by-step pattern that naturally invites accountability. And a big shout out to Kristen Van Way, who was one of the readers of the guide. And she reminded of the statement that I put the dashing yellow line under. And I just think it's so meaningful in this conversation because, like, who am I to launch a builder if I just barely launched? And it's like, yeah, who are you? You're a chapter ahead and you just did it. And you can turn and help someone else do it. And I think that's one of the most amazing things about our doTERRA experience. So you've got your timeline here. And I just want to tie that back into what we've already spoken to, which is, again, it's mentioned right here. We disclose to the reader that this is an ideal timeline. And it's tying into the 30 days to Elite with 2 prep weeks, just like it teaches on page 14, and then launching in a calendar month. So all of that PV is adding up into 1 month where it can be significant. Now, one thing I want to highly recommend here, and Eric, of course, brought this up at the beginning and giving away prizes for this, and that is let the BBG, the Business Building Guide, and the BBC, the Business Building Course, do the heavy lifting for you. Like, we don't have to spend, so much time now, lips to ears, trying to deliver training, especially if you're feeling newer at this, right? But instead, it's all there. We have total consistency. We've leveled the playing field. And instead, spend your time with your people. So as you're listening to Nicole, Molly, and Pam, pay attention to how they're spending time with their people and utilizing systems to help them, put their energy where it matters most. So once again, we're disclosing here the ideal timeline for 6 weeks to Elite, tying that into what was taught on page 14 and reiterating those principles. And that's what you have on pages 91 and 92. So as we step into the rest of our conversation tonight, we all wanted to put a filter on this conversation for you. And we're hoping you'll wear these ears while we're talking. And that is big time. People don't duplicate. So you're about to meet 3 more fantastic individuals who are fantastic at being themselves. And I just want to applaud them right out of the gates that they are uniquely themselves. So they're not going to duplicate. You're not going to run out of here and become any one of them tonight. But what does duplicate is systems and processes. And so put on the ears where you're listening, you're distilling down, or what we call deconstructing success to the point where you're like, I can do that. I can add that, to my recipe, my pipes recipe. I like that idea, and I can see where that's an enhancement to what I'm already doing. Now, that being said, as we were having our prep call, as I mentioned, as I listened to each of these significant leaders in doTERRA, one of my strong impressions was how each one of them was a tipping point in their business. And if you've read Malcolm Gladwell's book, The Tipping Point, he does such a good job of teaching us exactly what's taught here. The point at which an idea or a product crosses a certain threshold, gains significant momentum, and becomes mainstream is the definition of tipping point. And he says that it's triggered by some minor factor or change. So I want you to, again, think about those possibilities. And by the way, we wanted to give you a little psst. We want all of you to know that not one of us has successfully built our businesses online. So you can just lay that expectation to rest. There are amazing online builders in doTERRA. None of us are they. We've all built our businesses with people and continue to do that. And so we just wanted to give you that qualifier and that filter. So as you're listening to us speak, do we use online tools? Absolutely. Are we building directly online? No. So we wanted to disclose that to you early. So because I just have the mic right now, I'm going to wrap up my portion real quick and just share with you. We're each going to share with you a little something about our way of launching builders with 6 weeks to elite. So here's my little share now that we've laid the foundation for the rest of our conversation. And we call ours 6 weeks to elite and repeat. And the reason why is we invite a new builder to come through the first time for themselves and the second time to do it in 2 rounds to learn it, to teach it. And the neat thing about this is the monkey's off their back. They've got upline that are helping with it. They're not in charge of it. They're participating in it. They know that they're new builders in good hands. They're there together. They're learning together. Now, of course, you may be further down the road in your doTERRA career. You're probably not necessarily going to be in that 6 weeks to elite program. But for that new builder, we're inviting them to go through it twice. The other decision we've made is to keep it evergreen. This is like the question that we're always asking ourselves for those of you who are upline and you're like, do I start it? And it's like specific lessons, a specific curriculum. But with the BBG and the BBC, again, we've got the monkey off our back. We don't have to teach particular curriculum. So this is what we do with my calls. On the left-hand column, this is what we do together. This is what we encourage. We teach a minimum 10-hour work week where everyone's committing to working their business, money-making activities, an average of 2 hours a day, an average, right? Because people's schedules vary. That's what adds up 5 days a week to the 10 hours. And then part of that is to provide an online intro to oils class, an online group wellness. And that's how they can fit it into 10 hours. If they're going out and doing classes with people on their own, they'll need to add hours for that. But that's how we're giving them that minimum package for a 10-hour week is they're utilizing team calls that they can be inviting to. And then there's one group mentoring call that they get on weekly, again, for the 6 weeks, and then repeat. And we focus on 3 things. 1, mastering the 4 skills, their names list, inviting, hosting and enrolling, and supporting courses on the onboarding customers and launching builders, making money, making sure they know how to make money, and making commitments and being accountable. And then, of course, we provide, as an upline team, some structure, Facebook groups, websites, Voxer channel where they can talk to each other while they're in that elite group, and then a retreat that they can earn that's a reward, and they love that. And then we have a few qualifiers for them. So this is a good screenshot moment before I quickly change my slide. So that's my share. Again, laid the foundation, shared a little bit with you about how we're totally leveraging the BBC. You can see that's a qualifier for them while they're on their way to elite to earn that retreat. It's very motivating and it has them in such a better position to grow their business. Okay, so as we jump in, we have a little tipping point quote that just so beautifully captures the essence of each of these amazing women. So the first one is, in order to create one contagious movement, you often have to create many small movements first. Well, this is a perfect way to introduce the incomparable, as Eric said, Miss Molly Dayton, Presidential Diamond. And Molly is all about give it to me straight. Let's get it done. So Molly, welcome. And thank you so much for being here with us tonight.
I'm so excited to be here. I actually have been just listening to you, and I'm learning a lot listening to you, Laura. And I was reading the chat, and luckily it's recorded because she gave us so much information in such a short amount of time. So you can go back and watch the recording. That was one comment that I saw. Another thing, there was just a lot of information that you gave, Laura. I loved it. Another thing, when she introduced me, just tell me how to do it and get things done. I have 4 children, and I just need to learn and keep it as simple as possible. That's always been my motto in doTERRA. And so the more simple you keep it, I feel like the more successful that you're going to be. And so that's always been my motto while I've been building this as a business. The next thing that Laura said that is making me laugh. I don't do social media. I don't know how to do social media. I don't even know how to do Google Forms or Google Drive or whatever that Google is. And so I have just built my business talking to people. So please don't feel like you have to do this online. If that was the case, I would not be successful. So when we're talking about 6 weeks to elite, first let me say that I think everyone can do this at one way, shape, or form, do doTERRA as a business. And everyone has different whys. Everyone has different timeframes, different family experiences, work. Everyone can mold it to your own life. So the one thing we don't want to do is compare ourselves to the person next to you. But you can do this at whatever the level you'd like to do, which I really like. Sky's the limit. But it's not a race and it's not a competition. So there is a place for everyone. When we're talking about the 6 weeks to elite program, like Laura said, though, I feel like that this is for more people that really would like to do it as a business instead of maybe doing it more as a hobby. And so, 6 weeks, it's getting someone going at a pretty good clip. And so what I have seen during this past year, I've done things a little bit different in my business, but I think it's really helped out. And I just wanted to give you maybe this tip of how I have tweaked some things as a presidential so that you can do. So have you noticed when you're partnering with someone and they say that they want to do doTERRA as a business, a lot of people say, I want to be diamond. And I remember on my journey, I believe everyone and I have hope and faith in everyone. So I'm like, okay, you want to go diamond. And then, 2 weeks into it, it's crickets. I don't hear from them. And I'm like, wait, didn't you just say you wanted to be diamond? I'm sure some of you can relate to that. And so sometimes I go with what they're saying and I want to see what they're doing. And then that will give me a better pathway to success on how to help them. So what I have started to do is when someone says, hey, I want to do it as a business, well, that's great. And so the first thing I might say to them, let's have a class. And so I tell them, why don't you start writing down, and I say, let's try to get a list of 100. Now, this is where I've switched. I used to say, okay, make a list of 100. And now I say, let's just make a list. Let's try to get to a list. And then I'll say to people, you might get 40 on your list. You might get 250 on your list. So I give them a broad range. So I'm incorporating everyone. And then I have them host a class. And in this past year, as you know, it's been on Zoom. And what I am wanting to see is what they don't realize is I'm still interviewing them, more or less. I want to see how many people they get on the class. I want to see their excitement level. I want to see if they're returning my texts and if they're asking me questions and if they're engaged. I also want to see how many people come to that first class. So maybe I'll have them book one class, or maybe they have a good size list. And so I'll say, okay, let's not have everyone in one class. Let's have you book 3 classes and maybe they can get 5 people at each class. But that's what I want to see. Because if someone has their first class and they invite, well, however many people, but maybe they have 2 people show up, that might not be the person that I'm going to say, okay, now your next goal is to do 6 weeks to elite. So I'm really watching how many hours can they put into this business. So I'm going to tell you a little success story with someone on my team. She was asking her new builder, how many hours do you want to put in doTERRA? And this particular person said, I think I could put in about 10 hours a week. Okay, great. We'll work with that, right? We'll work with whatever you have. And so as this person started inviting and started sampling people for the class, and she had her first class, she had a handful of enrollments to put in. So the excitement's high, right? So as my builder was following up with her, this woman said, oh, now I understand. Because she actually tasted it. She tasted handing out samples and inviting to a class and following up to a class and having the class and feeling that success when she had those enrollments. And so she said, okay, now that I see what the process is, that pipes, she's like, I don't think it's 10 hours a week. I think I could do 25 hours. Boom. That's totally different. That's more than double what she had thought, because she realized she could sample when kids are napping. She could be following up, when her kids are sleeping. She could do things on the way to work. She could do things. And so she was able to be creative, and she saw what the process entailed. And so then with someone like that, who's showing up and who's booking classes from classes, that would be someone that maybe I would say, okay, the next step is let's give you a goal and let's try to do 6 weeks to elite. And we have a 6 weeks to elite program ready for you. So for me, it's really, I want to meet my person where they want to be. The worst thing you can do is take someone that might want to take a walk in doTERRA, as I like to say, and you're wanting to do a marathon with them. That's a great way to turn them off. So what I want to do is meet them at their level. And so what I have seen along this, this past year especially, is let's give them a little trial run. Let's see what they want to do. Let's see how they like it. They might just love hosting classes and be your best sharer. And that might not be the person that I put in the 6 weeks to elite program. So Laura, I hope that answers this slide for you.
Oh, that was awesome, Molly. I love it. I love how you explained that. And I wanted to, I was trying to talk fast so that everybody has a turn, so we cover everything we have. And just again, rest assured that the heavy lifting is being handled. And keep your camera on for a sec, Molly, so we can chat. Is being handled. That's the heavy lifting. So much of what I went over with you is captured in the program. And then I just shared my best practice about how we're letting the program do the heavy lifting. So then instead of trying to train on a call, we're like practicing on a call. We're getting into living that out. So we have a picture here, Molly. This is page 10 of the build guide. And it's just such a great example of exactly what you're teaching us. And that is, of course, we need our new builders to get enrolled and get their daily wellness plan going and actually being a product of the product. But notice how in the build guide, there is a recommendation if somebody wants to do like a softer launch, they can use the share guide. It was actually designed for this very particular purpose. And I love Brianne Houston, Blue Diamond in doTERRA. She spoke from stage in Nashville at the Diamond Retreat. And she's reiterating exactly the kind of idea that you're speaking to, Molly, in that she wants to know what she has to work with. Do I have a walker or do I have a runner? And doing exactly what you're recommending with this, let's start doing some hosting and let's see what feels right to you. What do you feel comfortable with? What do you see yourself doing? And I have CC on the page here, and you brought that up in our conversation. Do you want to explain what CNC is? Because that's so classic, right?
So let me back up 1 second and say this share guide is awesome because people can dip their toes in and try it out. So I would suggest starting with that share guide, and then based on what they bring to the table and where they want to go. And if they're a C or a CC, which I'll explain, then, this phenomenal guide, the business building guide, I pull out depending on what they are and where they are. So a C and a C. And I was taught this, actually David Sterling taught it to Elise Shedeby. And so you have a committed, that's one of them, and a capable, that's another one. So you can be either a committed or a capable, 1C, or you could be a CC, which is committed and capable. And so let me explain them. So a committed person is someone that puts in their LRP, someone that comes to every single training, someone that will go to the spring or the fall tour or go to convention, or I call him, the biggest doTERRA enthusiast, Mrs. doTERRA, right? Those are the committed people. Go doTERRA. Capable, though, is a little bit different. So capable is one of those type of people. I'll give you a good example. I was launching a new builder and they said, Molly, can you host this class? They were driving back east to host their first class. And they said, and it was my enrollment, I should be helping them. And they said, can you host this first class for me? I'm like, actually, I can't. I had a previous commitment I couldn't get out of. And you know what happened? They did their first class on their own. Totally just took the bull by the horns and did it themselves. So that's someone, when you show them how to enroll someone, they get it and they start going with it. You show them the class and they get it and they can run with it. You show them placements, or not saying that they don't need help ever, but someone that's just can grab that concept and start running with it. So that's what, I'm looking for as far as someone that I personally would want to launch in a 6 weeks to elite type of program. I'm looking for, if at all possible, my people that are my CCs. Does that help, Laura?
Totally. Perfect. And again, I just want people to see, especially if they've been through the guide, the phrases committed and capable, committed or capable, you're going to find those laced in, for example, the leader conversations and your placement conversations. So I love that you breathe more life into that. And again, let the share guide help you qualify. It's a great softer launch for somebody who's more toe dipping, and they might be toe dipping mentally. They might be toe dipping from a scheduling perspective, but it's an easy way for them to see a shorter names list, less scripts. There's still concepts for sharing their stories, sharing samples, but then stepping in and hosting presentations, partnering with their upline. It's perfect for exactly what Molly's talking about here, where we're doing this test drive. And it's for both parties. Both parties are trying to discover the magic that they can create together. So I love that, Molly. Thank you so much. All right. Now, our next guest this is the quote I picked for her from The Tipping Point. The tipping point is that magic moment when a social behavior crosses a threshold, tips, and spreads like wildfire. So it is my pleasure to introduce to you Nicole Almeida. And the tagline I gave Nicole here is the power of consistency. And she did enroll, and we were trying to remember how many she enrolled, but I know it was like 475 people, personal enrollments in 2019. I remember being at the Blue Diamond Presidential Diamond and Summit in Kona in 2020, January, and I want to meet this person. And what really, really caught my attention is when she said, and I did it all belly to belly. So welcome, Nicole. So nice to have you with us.
Thank you, Laura. This is so awesome. I'm really honored to be here and just get the opportunity to share. I noticed in the comments, Laura, that there were people adding a third C to the capable and the committed. And a few people said consistency would be their third.
Oh, look at that. And they're reading the vibes, right?
Because as you know, that is one of the things that I really look for when I'm looking at potential sharers and builders on my team. Consistency. I think consistency is just so important. Similar to what you already shared, Laura, and then of course, just piggybacking off of what Molly said, I didn't have a big social network. I still don't. I'm not really on social media. I absolutely love belly to belly connection. That is where, that is my zone of genius. I love teaching. I love enrolling. I love getting these oils into people's hands. And so belly to belly has been where it's been the most successful for me. So COVID, of course, was like, what do I do? I'm not online. How do I, continue to go at the pace that I was going before? And of course, prior to COVID, as you mentioned, I was the top enroller of the year. So enrollment super, super high. And then it was sort of this shift and just try and figure out how to regroup, how to reset, and figure out how to make this business work. And the beautiful thing about doTERRA is that there are so many ways to make it work. And that's what I love, right? It can be literally, this business can work for anybody. It can be that stay-at-home mom. It can be somebody who's working full-time and really just has a small amount of time to devote to their business. It's really up to you. When we look at the guide, of course, and Laura, you know that I'm a huge, huge fan of the business building guide. And one of the reasons why I fell in love with this guide so quickly is because as a high enroller, you need systems. We already, talked about the fact that, people don't duplicate, but systems do. And so, when people are coming into the business and they're saying, I want to, I want to do exactly what you're doing. I'm saying, well, you don't have to be me. I don't want you to be me. And I'm going to share a little bit about that in my next slide. And what I say is the most important when it comes to this business, when it comes to choosing to do doTERRA, right? Whether that's, you want to do it because maybe you want to pay for, I like to call it your oil habit. For me, it was, I wanted to pay for my oils. When I first got started, I loved the oils, I loved the products, and I really just wanted to get them paid for. I really had no intention of doing this as a business. And then it kind of started, it developed into, I was sharing the oils with everybody. I have 6 children. And so we, spend a lot of time in extracurricular activities on the soccer field and the football field. And I was just finding myself talking to moms and just really wanting to share these oils. And so for me, it kind of turned into a business. So I was a loyal customer turned into sharer, turned into builder. And so that's what I mean about, this can look different for so many different people. And the business can look a lot different. So when I think about 6 weeks to elite, and I would definitely agree with a lot of what Molly said. She gave such, incredible information in terms of how do we decide, is someone capable? Is somebody committed? What I have found is that one of the biggest caveats to this business that I see is, I'll have people who will come to me and they'll say, I can't find builders. I'm having a really hard time finding builders. And in fact, I was just at the incentive trip a couple weeks ago in Mexico, and I ran into a gal who I hadn't seen for a while. And she said, I'm just really frustrated. I can't find any builders. And I said, well, how are you doing with sharers? Because I really feel like really tapping into those people who are really committed customers, loyal customers who have a network of their own. And like I said, I don't have a huge social network. So for me, success was tapping into networks. I joined a lot of local networking groups, women's networking groups, Chamber of Commerce events, any kind of networking event that I could get myself into where I could have exposure to networks of other people who might be interested in these products, right? In these natural solutions. And in the day and age that we're living in, that's pretty much everybody, right? So many people are looking for natural solutions. So what I find though, and I think we lost our PowerPoint because I don't see the PowerPoint anymore. I don't know if it's still up there. But
don't worry. I got your back. I just thought they want to see your beautiful face and meet you and know you. So when you're ready for a slide, I'm right here. I got you.
So the slide I wanted to go to, Laura, was yep, there it is. So, but before I hop into just what's here, and this is what I teach my team consistently, but what I wanted to say is that when we talk about 6 weeks to elite, I love, a lot of you are probably familiar with Eric Worre, and he has a book called GoPro, and he has an amazing video that I want to put it out there because I share this with my team, and it's a video called 90 Days Can Change Your Life. And what I want to say about that and connecting it to the 6 weeks to elite program is that, it seems like, 6 weeks to elite, that's like really fast. And in the video, and I remember the first time watching this video thinking, yes, that is what people need. People need to understand that in order to take off, in order for your business to really launch, you have got to put your pedal to the metal. And what Eric does so beautifully in this video is he talks about the fact that, when you're trying to, if there were a plane on a runway and you were trying to take off, you're the pilot and you're trying to get that plane to take off. If you just, tap that gas and put it at 20% throttle, it's not going to go anywhere. If you put it at 40% throttle, it's not going to go anywhere. If you put it at 60, it's not going to go anywhere. You've got to put it at 100% throttle in order for that plane to lift off that runway. And, otherwise the only thing you're really going to see is like trees, right? Like at the end of the runway, you're going to run into the trees. And so I just love thinking of that 6 Weeks to Elite program. And the way that he explains that is you've got to put your pedal to the metal, right? You've got to really take off. Obviously, you can't go at full throttle the entire time. But just really quick about my story, I had no intention of doing this as a business. I fell in love with sharing the oils. I didn't fall in love with being a builder. I fell in love initially with sharing the oils. I became a silver leader in December of 2017. I qualified to go to leadership. And when I went to leadership in 2017, I remember watching the diamonds, walk across the stage. And I said, I want to be a diamond next year. And during that leadership, I heard about Diamond Club. And I said, I want to do Diamond Club. I don't know what it's all about, but I want to do Diamond Club. And so I did. I qualified. I was a silver leader. I qualified for Diamond Club, and I did Diamond Club in 2017 in the fall. By October, I believe it was October. I started in August. In October, I hit platinum. And then in November, the very last month of Diamond Club, I did become a diamond. So Diamond Club, huge shout out to Diamond Club. If you have the opportunity, do it. Talk to your upline because it's amazing. But it is a momentum program, just like 6 Weeks to Elite. And what I really did, Laura, is I did Diamond Club in fall of 2017, and I never stopped. I literally adopted that Diamond Club mentality, that momentum, that 100% throttle, and I just went with it. And that's really how I've done my business. It's how I've gotten to where I am today. And so this slide, that brings me to the slide, the ABC, right? And I want people to really understand that it is so important that you really pay attention to the ABCs. And I teach this to every single person on my team, whether they are a sharer, a builder, they, turn into a leader. You've got to be authentically you. Okay. So do not try and be like somebody else. There are so many big names in this business. There are, and I'm not going to name specifics, but there are just so many big, amazing names in doTERRA. And I think, unfortunately, a lot of people get in and they see these people and they're like, I want to be like, that person, or I want to be like that person. And the reality of it is, if you are not authentically you, you're going to have a really difficult time. So lean into who you are, really decide who it is that you want to be, what it is that you want to do in this business, why you want to do it, what's your mission statement, and be authentically you. The B is that you have to believe in what you're doing. You've got to believe that these products are the best products that you can find. And I will tell you they are. I am a researcher, and I will only align myself with the very best. And doTERRA is the very best. But belief is so important. You've got to believe in the products, and you've got to believe in the company. And then you need to believe in yourself. And after that, you need to believe in your team. So there's a lot of steps of belief to this process, but belief is so important. And then last, but certainly not least, and I know that many of you have already said this, right? Molly said capable and committed, but consistency. I can't tell you how many times people say, I want to do doTERRA, I want to do doTERRA. And then it's a BOGO, and all of a sudden I see them posting on social media, guess what? doTERRA's doing BOGOs. And it's like, oh, I didn't know that person was still doing doTERRA. Because they haven't been consistent. People take you seriously in this business when you are consistent, when you show up, whether other people show up or they don't, whether it be to classes, a Facebook Live, an Instagram, whether they're commenting on your posts, whether they're not, it doesn't matter. You've got to be consistent. You just have to be consistent, because people will take you seriously when you're consistent. If you only do it once in a while, you kind of pop up. I have a lot of people on my team, but I've built a large team. It's a Blue Diamond team. And I have so many people who say, I want to do doTERRA. I want to be a builder. I want to be a leader. I want to be successful. And, they do a couple of posts on Facebook and they're like, I just don't think doTERRA is for me. I'm not having success. Well, have you done any classes? Have you invited anyone? Are you doing are you taking the steps that it's going to take to be successful in this business? And if you're not, then you only have yourself to blame, and you've got to be consistent about it. You can't just do it once in a while. We know that it's what you do daily, what you do every day matters so much more than what you do just once in a while. So being consistent is so important. So just remember, as you say yes to doing the 6 weeks to elite, number one, you've got to put your pedal to the metal. Go and watch that video, that Eric Worre video. It's amazing. And then remember to be authentically you, believe in what you're doing, and make sure that you're consistent. Hopefully that's good for that slide, right? Okay, so and so then Laura said she threw in this slide because she said, I shared with her, roll up your sleeves, go to work. It is a numbers game. You guys, you've got to put yourself out there.
Nicole, you just got to flex for us. Like, put your arm up. Like, I was trying to find a picture that looks like you. Even one person wrote in, oh my gosh, look at her biceps. But like, you are such a high executor in your strengths. And I just wanted to fairly represent you and your attitude, because I think, just to interrupt you, but I think it'd be really fun for people to know that you have done it this way. You haven't had an upline that's helped you. Like you said, you put your pedal to the metal and you kept going. And I just really want to honor that, and that you're here to represent for anyone who has that same desire. They can do it. So I just wanted to find something that, as closely as possible, I was looking for someone rolling up their shirt sleeves. Most of the pictures were really stupid. But when I saw this one, I'm like, that's my girl, Nicole, right there, rolling up her shirt sleeves, showing her biceps.
Yes. So you can't do hard things, Laura. So, and I'm a no excuse kind of gal. For those of you who've done Strength Finders, you're familiar with Gallup Strengths. I do a lot of things with strengths on my team. I love to really just focus on people's strengths, because, we focus on people's strengths and we catch them doing the things that they're good at doing. It really helps. But for those of you who are wondering what mine are, my number one is achiever. My number two is competition. Most of my top 10 are purple strengths. So they're execution. I can execute really well. I am a go-getter. I am a no excuse type person. I am the leader that will tell you that you can do, if you want to do this, you can do it. You don't need an upline. You don't need a downline. You can do this. Like, you can, if you want to do it, you can do it. It's no excuses. It's just decide that you want to do it, and then get it done. You'll figure it out. Say yes first and then figure it out. And you don't need to know everything to get started. And just in conclusion, in terms of not knowing everything, I didn't know everything. I bet you if I rewound and watched my first class, it's probably horrific. It has, of course, changed over time, right? Because I've learned a lot more. But let me just say that the gift that has been given to us by doTERRA and by the incredible team that put together the business building guide and the business building certification, you don't have to know how to do anything in this business. You could be literally brand new with a zero upline. You can upgrade to an advocate, get yourself this guide, and then enroll in the free business builder certification. It could not be any easier. You upgrade your account to a wellness advocate, and the business builder certification is free. doTERRA is not even charging you for it. The information contained within that certification class is literally, to me, it's priceless. Like, they could have charged hundreds of dollars for it, and they give it to us for free. And it pairs beautifully with this spiral notebook that will cost you $10. So really, there's just no excuses, because doTERRA gave us everything that we could possibly want or need or ever ask for in this business building guide and the business builder certification. So just use it. It's a gift. And if you want to do doTERRA and you want to get started and you're just not sure how, the first step is get this guide and enroll in the business builder certification.
Go, Nicole. I love it. We can all see why you are the success story that you are, and so excited to see what your future holds because you're tracking with the things that matter most. And I love the example that you've set for us. And, the roll up your shirt sleeves thing is actually quite dear. Greg Cook shared a book with several of us some time back about how to create and maintain and sustain family wealth. And he said the number one secret, the author said, is that every generation has to be willing to roll up their shirt sleeves. So thank you for modeling that for us, that's how you truly build success in your business. And we do admire your biceps. All right, our next and final presenter. Normally we don't have 4 of us. Tonight was extra special. And so we're going a little bit longer than we might have, but I promise you it'll be worth every second, because if you liked what you've heard so far, you're going to continue to love the content here. So it's my pleasure to bring on one last Malcolm Gladwell quote to introduce our final sharer tonight. If you want to bring a fundamental change in people's belief and behavior, you need to create a community around them where those new beliefs can be practiced and expressed and nurtured. And nothing could describe better Pam Tanimura. She is a beautiful builder. She's been building internationally, both in the US and in the Latin America market. She's a founder in Brazil. And, I think together we're collective fans of Simon Sinek's concepts and book, The Infinite Game. And truly, Pam is a long gamer. Huge welcome to you, Pam, tonight. Thank you so much for being here and sharing you and your amazing doTERRA experience. It's so fun to be here with you.
I'm so honored and happy to be able to be here with such incredible people. And all of you that are on here today, you're here because you believe in what you do. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here, right? So belief is huge for all of us. And that's something that Nicole touched on, that also decision, when you decide to do it. And I work with my team, some of my team are here, and we work a lot with mindset. So I think mindset is so powerful. And as you start your business in doTERRA right now, what I see is I'm relaunching my business in the United States. And some of you might be in the same place. So for me, I built in the US first, and then I moved to Brazil to build in Brazil. And now I'm coming back. So as I was coming back to the United States, and this is just in September, I was trying to put together or organize the way that I was going to train my new team, the new people that are coming on board with me. And one thing that I've noticed in the United States, especially, is people just want to be seen and loved, right? And that's something I've talked to my team a whole lot about, is for you to put yourself out there. And that's what Nicole said. You have to put yourself out there. And one thing that I have been doing since I'm going back, this is a gift, right? This guide right here, I'm going back to basics. And this is important. It's been super helpful for me. Even if you already hit ranks, if you are a founder or you've been in doTERRA for a while, I believe going back to basics and the simple steps, just like Molly said, is super helpful. And it's important because sometimes we complicate things and we don't have to. So I love this part. But the biggest takeaway for me throughout my career in doTERRA, I've been in doTERRA for 8 years now, is this pages 13 and 14, where people tell you what they want. And that to me has been the greatest gift or lesson throughout my career. We always want something for people too, but they have to decide. So the decision has to come from the other side. And that's something that has been such an important part of my business, because when they decide, it's their decision. And one thing that was told to me when I was building in Brazil was, if you have to convince people to keep doing it, you're going to have to keep convincing them for the rest of their career. And you don't want that. You want people to be all in, right? To be resourceful, to find the answers. And that's something that's the common denominator here is we go after the answers. And if we were to talk about what system I used, basically this BBG system, but I always tried everything. I tried everything that always was available. So we tried many different systems. And that's another thing too, that you're starting and launching, let your builders experiment. Let them go with what works for them. If you know, Olivia Tai is the latest founder, USA 2.0. She used a different system and worked for her. And that's the beauty of this business too. We all do it differently, but The variable is you. So you bring you to this business. And that is the special sauce. When you talk about what's the secret? The secret is you. Also, the different phases in our businesses and respecting the place you're at and also respecting the place that people are at. Right now, what I feel, and I go a lot with feeling, and I talk about a whole lot about love, but I do say that right now, I feel that people are really looking for solutions, and they know, my community knows that I am a safe place for them to land. So I am very much looking now for customers. And that is the beauty of like how Nicole built. We have to have a combination of both. But right now, I feel that people will be very happy by being a customer and you loving on them. Then eventually the builders will show up. So when you talk about how did you find your builders? I just kept doing the work. I kept consistent and I kept my belief, and my belief grew as I grew. Your belief is going to be very different when you first launch your business in doTERRA, right? And as you grow, this belief changes. So my belief when I first started was for me to be able to be home with my children and not have to work a business that I didn't love, that actually made me sick. And that was my first why. So that's why, talking about Simon Sinek, go back to why you do this, and that why is going to grow and expand. Today, I believe that we're changing the economy in Brazil. And that's something that is really strong within me. And also something that was very special, and it brought me to tears yesterday. And I might even get emotional right now, but I grabbed the leadership magazines, and I pray on them. I pray on all of you that are part of doTERRA, because doTERRA is what it is because of all of us, right? So no matter what country, state, city, we're all the same. And that is also the importance of connecting to people. Strengths. Do find out your strengths. Strengths are important. So one of my strengths is woo. So I do believe that I will win people over, but I am not annoying to the point, that you're not inviting people in, you're actually pushing them out. So learning how to work with your strengths is super key. So for me, I know to connect with people, and I know when to go in there and keep touching and keep connecting. In a more strategic side right now. So I never built online. I built everything face to face, just like these amazing leaders here. And I feel that that's my strength too. And that's my point of magic. And that's when I feel that I become magnetic. So I had a hard time in 2020, March, right? We had to learn how to do everything online. So another thing that's important, to be adaptable. So I adapted. I grew my community online, but still I know that the magic is in my connections, people to people, person to person. And that is what I'm focusing on again. So right now, what I'm doing as I'm relaunching, I'm like a baby builder in the US again. I am relaunching and focusing on customers. And I do have a flyer that Eric is going to put up on the Facebook page, I believe in the Facebook group. And it does talk, I do have in there, be my customer. I do have a picture of my family, and I say, I'm Pamela Tanimura, this is my Ohana. Be my customer, and you can try it before you buy it. Because this is what we do, right? We share samples. This is the system. Another thing is to never get out of the pipes. The framework works. And that is the framework that you never get out of. As long as you follow pipes, your business is going to work. And you keep showing up, and you keep showing up. And that is a power that I felt through Diamond Club. Some of you put it on the chat. I've done Diamond Club 7 times. It's kind of crazy because even when I was Blue Diamond in Brazil, they asked me to do it in Brazil because we're launching Diamond Club. So I did it again. And every single time it has been a school for me. It's like a course that I take every time. So I'm from Brazil. English is not my first language. My team, mostly minority. And I feel that if we have these tools and you work with the tools and you put them to work, anyone can truly do this business. As long as you believe and decide, this business will work for you, no doubt. And one of my good friends, and then now I'm doing what I do best. I go to places, I connect with people, I put people together, and this is what I'm doing. So through the stories on Instagram, if you are inclined to do a little bit of virtual or online building, I think stories are a good place to start. And you can take a look at some of the stuff that I do, and it does make me connect with new people. People do message me on there, and then I take it from there and I build relationships with them outside of the virtual world. But one of my friends in California, I was just there this weekend, and he said, you know what's really amazing? Your English got so much better. And I said, it's the doTERRA school. So doTERRA means different things to different people. So to me, doTERRA has been the best and biggest school I've ever attended. And so Veronica is saying we have some great stories. Yes, we do. And I see that as long as we keep that excitement of something new, and that goes back to, I'm here for the long run. I'm here forever. This is the infinite game. As long as we keep that excitement of the new thing is when you're going to keep bringing that spark into people's lives. So also remembering to be able to ground and come back something familiar. That's why family is important, community is important. You know, the excitement is fun and new, but also the grounding is what keeps you grounded and keep going so you don't lose yourself in the process. And never forget where you come from. So that for me is a big one. And the more I see people having success within my team, within doTERRA, the more I understand the goal and the bigger vision. So the way for you to be big in doTERRA is for you to really have a bigger vision. But then when you're just starting, the big vision might seem so far. So then you start small with your vision matching up with the goal, which are the actionable items. And this is the actionable item right here, the guide. Then that vision will grow. You know that at the end of the day, so if you have a problem, which I had, and I'm speaking from a place that I knew sometimes I felt like I was bugging people, right? No, at the end of the day, they will thank you. They will say thank you. I promise you. And that is belief. And that's how I have reprogrammed the way that I do the business of doTERRA. Another thing that was super important and key for my family was to have a family vision. So this is a family business for us. My family is connected to every single step of my business. And to me, it's not just a business, obviously, right? It is a lifestyle. So my family knows, and we sync our calendars. So when you go to page 20 to do your calendar, make sure that your husband is in also. So we sync our calendars, we sync the family calendar, make sure that you take everyone in the family and they're aware of where you're going, how much time it's going to take, and that you are all in. Having that support will make a whole lot of difference in your business. And also, people don't buy the products, they buy you. And that is the beauty of doing network marketing. We call it relationship marketing in Brazil. And that's what it is. It is a connection of you and people, how you serve them and bringing them solutions that they might be needing at that point. So you be that beam of light for people. And this is what I keep telling my team. And I told them back in 2020 in March, I told them, we are strategically placed in a beautiful way for us to be able to serve a lot of people. And I'm seeing this happening more and more right now. People in the workspace, in the marketplace, that are looking for something to do. So then you can always understand that you have to make yourself available too for the business as much as for the customer. So there is a sweet spot to mix business and customers. And right now, our team is focusing a lot on customers because I know that most of us will start as customers and eventually you turn into a builder, right? If you see the chat right now, I asked before when Nicole was saying, I was a customer first. Most of us are. We start as customers and then we grow into sharers and then we grow into builders. Then the last part is organization. So for me, then building with 3 kids, right, through 3 pregnancies, it can be a little messy, but here is the thing. You can still have success, even though you might think that everything that you do is a little messy, because this is how I felt for a long time. But the consistency of you showing up is what matters most. And then eventually you'll be able to get organized. So Business Building Guide got me organized again. And how I feel with this business guide is that I'm able to have processes in place where I can just duplicate and be organized. But as long as you show up, as long as you have your belief in the product and you become the product of the product, your business will grow. So just make sure that you are showing up and being consistent with your team. Building in different countries, if you guys have questions, you can send me messages about it. We can talk about it. I've been talking with a few of you that are starting to build in these new markets that are opening up. And I feel that right now in the US is a great time for us to just be here to receive the people that we can serve in much bigger ways.
Pam, you're amazing. Such an inspiration. You know, one of the most joyous things for me is to see the ripple of generations of doTERRA builders, and having been around since there was only 1,100 people to watching us today at over 10 million, to see the consistency in our culture. Thank you. Thank you all for being such profound representatives of what doTERRA truly is and how we truly build this business successfully. So our final invitation, as we turn it back to Eric, collectively, as we link arm in arm in our messaging tonight, is, hey, how about we roll up our sleeves and change some lives, shall we? So thank you, Eric. Back to you.
Laura, thank you very much for tonight. And thank you to all the presenters that did such a wonderful job. You guys were fantastic. You know, maybe it's, Laura, turn on your camera. Let's chat a little bit, if you don't mind. One of the things that I do, and maybe it's my business background, but I get questions all the time about what my best investment advice is. I don't know if you get questions about that because you're a successful leader and you know everything about everything. But
I was actually going to call you and ask you because I feel like you would have all the answers. So thank you how did you know? You're like psychic. Like I've been thinking of calling you like, Eric, where's the best place to invest?
What should I be investing in? Is it real estate? Is it Bitcoin? Should I be in the stock market? Or should I be in bonds? Or where should I be? And really, as I was thinking about this today, I really want to just share today that I think the best investment advice that I would give is to invest in yourself and invest in your doTERRA business. I think that we see these wonderful leaders that we have, and the best investment that any of us can make is to make an investment in ourselves. And I think we've done that tonight. I know we ran a little bit longer than we normally do on these meetings and this event, but I think it was time well spent. Wouldn't you agree, Laura?
Totally. I'm sure just in watching the chat that each person has felt so edified in. Again, these women are exemplary, and they're not, just in case the men are feeling left out. I did see Weston's comment there, and I appreciate that. Everything that's been taught here are true principles for all of us. All of these things that everyone is modeling for us are things each of us can duplicate in our way. And they've just hit on such profound, precise principles that truly are what make people successful in doTERRA. I'm super grateful. My cup runneth over.
Yeah, and I feel the same way, Laura. I think that with Weston, maybe Weston and I ought to have a conversation. I'll give Weston my cell phone number. We can talk about how guys do the business. But really, I think what we've done this evening is we taught good principles that anybody can use across the company. And really, if there's a call to action, I want to just share a couple of things with you as I wrap up this evening. And before we go into the Zoom call, let's go on to the next slide, Laura. Let's go ahead and skip that one. We went through those, but if I got any message tonight, it was to be bold, is to be big, be excited about doTERRA. I know that there are many places in the United States that are opening up and are becoming more available to do in-person meetings, or even if you're doing things online. I want you to go for it. I want you to be bold, but be bold in your own way. Laura, what did you think about that advice about being bold and being audacious and going for it?
One of the things I really appreciated in the conversations that as we always prepare for these calls, Eric, right? We get with our presenters and we get to know each other and we discover that message that comes out in our conversations. And one of the things I really loved was that each of these individuals knows their strengths. They know who they are and they're working with themselves. They're playing to the best of who they are. And I think that came out loud and clear that each of them know how to be bold in being themselves.
And I love the comment that I think it was Nicole that talked about being authentic and and having belief in what she's doing and being consistent. And I love that she is audacious in her approach and sharing doTERRA with everybody she comes in contact with. I guess the advice also that I got from this evening, and probably the biggest tip that I really thought was the most important, is don't play for today or tomorrow only, but build something that's going to last long term. You look at our retention rates here at doTERRA, you look at what we have done over the years, and we've done nothing but prepare for a wonderful future. And that's what we're doing as a company, is playing the infinite game. And I know that you, Laura, and myself and Justin and everybody else that's here on this call with us tonight is really looking long term. What are your thoughts about the infinite game?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked, because there's this quote rolling around right now. I believe it's from someone in Season Johnson's downline, and Season is in a mentoring group with Eric Worre. And so this quote has gone viral that he said to her amongst some really top performers from other network marketing companies. He turned to Season and he said, "Season, you have something very special. You are building with a legacy company." And he compared doTERRA to the companies that these other people are with. And he said, "I'm sorry to tell you, but you don't have what Season has." And he says, "You stay where you are, because you're with a long game business." And it's funny, I actually got to interview Emily today about some really timely things about our quality. And we don't have time here to drop into that. But I just want, my heart is overflowing. The company is very aware of the patterns of success that happen in our industry, that happen in the marketplace. And we're going to have multiple comeback stories because there's seasons of our long game. And I don't know about the rest of you, but I'm feeling very called to being like, have my pads on, my uniform on, like be ready to get in the game, because we're about to hit another, what feels like to me, really, really big surge. And we've just been kind of like, warming up for the next thing. And I think it's time, Eric, that we demonstrated who we truly are in the marketplace again.
Yeah, I agree, Laura. I think we're just scratching the surface. And I think there's an opportunity out there with people coming out of COVID and with things opening up where people want to connect again. And I really think that, we have, for the right products to do it, we have a great group of people and leaders. All of you have good reasons to be able to connect with others. What are your thoughts about connecting and building relationships and nurturing those relationships as we go?
Well, I love that you've brought up just the season that we're emerging from. And, maybe we could see it instead of like looking at it for all that it was. Why not look at it instead as a cocoon? And we had an opportunity to get inside the chrysalis and go through the struggle so we can emerge. And I hope that that's the season that I've been in. I feel like, there's been a struggle to regroup and to recommit and understand, how we're doing things differently. And I love the challenge. I love that. I think it was Nicole or Molly, one of them said, like, let's get uncomfortable. And that was Emily today, I think, who said that on my webinar earlier. Like, it's time to a butterfly will literally die. I heard a story the other day of a young man who got so anxious, he cut open the chrysalis and the butterfly didn't do what it has to do. And so it died. And so let the struggle. I love Pam's example of how her English has improved. I mean, she speaks beautifully. And I love that she said the doTERRA chrysalis is what that brought that out in here. So let's each of us find our own struggle that becomes our own magnificence.
And I love what Nicole had to say too about putting yourself out there. You've got to go for it. Don't play small. Go for it in a big way and really push to be able to make this work. And I think if you're going to do something, give it 100% throttle. Don't go 20 or 30 or 40%. You need to give it full throttle. There'll be time to maybe take a break or slow down at some other point, but success loves speed. And I think that if you're out there working and you're engaged and you're doing things daily, I think people will see that and want to be associated with you and your business.
We need momentum, right? People, there's something to the energy of momentum. And so I want to, again, reset our expectation that it is not unreasonable to expect that someone with a couple prep weeks can go elite inside of a calendar month. Let's raise the bar of our expectations. Let's not lower it. And let's go and seek out to create, because again, what we're talking about is expediting the speed with which we're changing lives. And we can do this. We can, with all the beautiful counsel we've received tonight, these are exactly the right buttons to push to make those very things happen.
Love that. Let's talk a little bit about the Zoom calls tonight, and we're going to make ourselves available in the next few minutes. One of the things that I do see on every one of these calls that we do is, when will you be able to post all of this? And we post it to the leadership pages, and we're posting it to Justin's webinars. So look online tomorrow and everything should be up. But take advantage of these trainings that we make available. There is great information, great nuggets here, and we only keep them up for a couple of weeks. So make sure that you get your teams looking at it and that you use these as a way to train individuals within your organization. Also, take a screenshot of this next slide.
Sorry, they're not in the order that you thought.
not the order that I thought exactly, but take a screenshot of this. Make sure it gets on your calendar for July the 12th. We'll have more details about who's going to be our speaker then. And then take the screenshot of this one. We have our Zoom chats that'll be available. Come and talk to us. We'd love to chat with you and share our thoughts. And Laura, I'll leave you with the last words. What would you like to leave us with this evening?
Hey, let's bounce and go chat, right? Like if you thought this was fun, these ladies are a blast to talk to. So grab a number real quick and come hang out. I shouldn't leave the guys out. Like Eric and Justin are amazing to talk to as well. Like you can't go wrong here. You cannot go wrong. No matter where you choose to go tonight on a Zoom chat, you're going to enjoy a dynamic conversation. So on that
no
note,
one wanted to be with Justin and me tonight. I don't know what happened here. So we're on our own.
We gave the girls their choices. They picked.
Especially you guys. Come chat with Justin and me and let's talk about how guys
like Weston, go hang out with the guys. Like that's
hang out
perfect.
with us some.
And I'm going to challenge you, Eric, to do a bros night on one of these trainings. Okay, that's my last word. Have a bro night.
We'll do a Bro Terra night one of these nights. On a serious note, thank you all for joining us this evening. We look forward to seeing you on the Zoom chats and keep up the good work, everybody.
Thank you.